I got the video on here, so it's recording.
Okay, thank you, and I hope to add with my presentation to some of the information that went in the two presentations that came ahead of mine. So my theme here is community motive, and I'm suggesting that this is an untapped identity factor for regional development. And in this presentation, I hope to answer some of the questions that were raised in the prior ones. Again, this is primarily based on my own experience as a regional planner, a practitioner in the United States since 1973. So I've had 35 years of this. So hopefully this perspective will be useful to everybody here. Okay, so if I go down here, all right. To a degree, this is a continuation of work. I made a presentation at Prague in 2008 where I was proposing a local regional scale. So again, part of what I'm trying to do here is visualize the regions. Okay. So in 2012 here, we have many development challenges. You know, there's been the financial crisis, we're in a great recession, we're facing peak oil, a lot of problems. When I talk to people about these bleak future scenarios that we have, I will say something like, the only thing that will save us is community. And so far I've not had anybody disagree with that thesis. But it's kind of confusing. I mean, how is a community going to solve all these things? Doesn't the profit motive solve everything? I mean, right? So the profit motive in this age is the goal and the driver. And huge problems are simply those things that attract economic attention. At least that's what the economists tell us. And so when it comes to regional development, efforts to raise incomes, you know, the first goal is for your region to be business friendly. And so a multi-jurisdictional group, subnational region, local governments, they're all advised to collaborate, cooperate, and build this business-oriented environment. And this is regardless of the size or type of the region. So the Barents region may be doing this. Smaller regions, everybody is following the same template but maybe at a different scale. Okay, so I'm proposing that there's this other thing out there that's more important, has been more part of human development than the profit motive, and I've simply labeled this community motive. Now when I had this thought, I was kind of sick of hearing profit motive, and I looked this up on the internet, and I could only find one use of the term community motive, and that was by the environmentalist Aldo Leopold, and he wrote it in 1944, and there was a sentence that's quoted a few times on the internet. It says, the purpose of education about the environment is to create a community motive so that people will do the right thing. So that is about the only use I could find of this specific term. But when local governments, when governments are working to this profit motive, is there anything, is it only for tax-based improvement that they're going after? And again, I'm saying, I think it's community motive, and it's part of the historic sense, the historic need to perpetuate your community over centuries. I mean, if you remember from the plenary session, I was the guy yesterday, they said, well, shouldn't we have a 300-year time frame, right? How can we achieve sustainability if we don't have this long vision? But of course, we have to implement that day by day. So you're using short-term resources to achieve a much longer vision, much of which is just stability, just staying in place. So in my view, the governmental structures that we find in place today, the nation, states, counties, municipality, or highly intentional communities, created by the citizens of their day, whatever their charter date is, in accordance with the laws of the time, and they are bounded regions. And today, after hundreds of years, they continue as intentional communities, and their political boundaries are integral to their identity. My boundaries are my identity. And identity is not simply a brand, but we know brand is part of the regional development game, as has just been mentioned. And if you ever work with local officials and try getting people to coordinate on a strategy, they're asked to put on their regional hat. But can there actually be such a thing as a regional hat? That's what I want to do. And to look at this, I'm going to wear a very branded hat. I bought this over at the mall yesterday. It's Cal Tendon, which is apparently a Chinese brand or a Japanese brand of high-end clothes. And I shopped around and I got this on sale for 84 RMB, about $13 American, half of the price. I could have paid up to 300 RMB for a hat. Okay, so I'm using this hat as an example of identity, and it's also a branding. Okay, so I'm going to look at existing identities, and what I'm going to use is the political identities that I experience as a resident of the town of Front Royal, Virginia, and I'm a voter. So I have a Front Royal hat. Okay, and it's a sub-county regional identity. There's a very small outline of the map, and I vote for the town council of Front Royal and the mayor. I have this identity. Now, I also, because it's located in the county of Warren, I also have an identity as a Warren County voter. And Warren County is a sub-state region of the Commonwealth of Virginia. I vote for one county supervisor and 4 constitutional officers. Okay, so here's my identity. So I've got that. Then, well, I'm also a Virginian, so I can wear the hat of being a Virginian, which is a subnational region, you know, an autonomous region, semi-autonomous region in the nation of the United States. And wearing this hat, I vote for 2 U.S. senators, District House of Representatives, the Governor of Virginia, and the Lieutenant Governor, and the Attorney General, actually, a Senator, and a House of Delegates representative. So you might think I'm in the voting booth all the time here, right? Okay, but also I have this other identity as an American, right, which is a nation, but we also might view it as a subplanet sovereign region, okay? So I also have this identity. I vote for the president and the vice president. And then kind of at the top of the chain here, we have the local planet, the whole Earth region, some of which is in nations and some of which is not. But it's all politically claimed and bounded. Okay, for all of these identities, for all of these hats, I have a direct vote, I pay direct taxes, and I get direct services. And the result of this is I get in my community, I get community security for myself, my family, guests, any visitors, anybody that passes through. And all these hats are neatly stored and ready to be displayed. So I don't walk around with this hat, but at any point in the situation I can put on my identity hats, and they are based on those geographies. Well, so what about multi-county regions? Well, this is the region. Virginia has been focusing on regional development since the 1930s. They proposed regional commissions in '44. In 1968, they divided the state up into planning districts, all of which became chartered as local governments. I worked for Planning District 7 from 1973 to 2008, where there were 20 local governments. In 1995, the state wanted to go to another level and promote regional partnerships. And what we have today is there's some regional marketing, but the industry deals are done locally by the county and the city development agencies with state and local incentives. So after 50 years, in some cases, we've done some of that. Okay, so where's this regional hat? Okay, so I'm going to go back to the county of Warren, which is in the planning district. So again, many people in these organizations, they want you to put on a regional hat. Okay, so here's a regional hat. What happens? I lose my identity. I'm no longer the county. So if you read in the literature, the thing that's most a barrier to regional things is the loss of identity. Okay, so regional hat, where's my identity? Well, where's my history? Where's my culture? Where's my vote? And in these regional organizations, I only have an indirect vote. Some representative votes for me, some appointee. I pay assessment indirectly. The services come back to me, can be indirect or direct. But it can sort of mess up with my identity. So is there perhaps an alternative way for the regional, we've heard of umbrella organizations, right? That's this common term, but you've never seen one, right? So I apologize for being late today, but I had this crazy idea that visual aids might make these points a little more clear. So we have a regional greater community, which is an umbrella, which could, it could hold all kinds of hats here. We could, 3 of us, 5 heads, bigger umbrella. So we can accommodate a lot of identities under an umbrella organization. And okay, so I'm willing to do this because this contributes to the regional community and we become greater. Now, new regions are data shadows. The region is always a new geography and it's at odds with the political geography on the ground. So it's like a data cloud. So there's these clouds in the sky, it puts a shadow on the ground, but is it an actionable territory? So two favorite maps here are this is the mega regions. Okay, so And the Northeast mega region, known as the Boswash, has been around since in the 60s. But if here at the conference people ask me where I'm from, I'd say the States. I'm not telling you I'm from the Boswash or the Northeast mega region. Okay, they're data structures, they're clouds. Same with the metropolitan statistical areas there on the right. Okay? So those are data regions, but there are very few organizations that match those boundaries and can act on that region. Now, in the 1960s, when the metropolitan areas were first defined, the regional councils of the time matched those boundaries. But the statistical regions have grown, but the political organizations that were formed stayed the same. So, this lower map in the corner is the United States with the regional councils that exist. Most of these were created in the 60s. Many are 40 to 50 years old, and none of them are hats. They are umbrellas. Now, in another 50 or 100 years, they may gain enough, they may gain direct election, but that's 100 years away. Because even at 50 or 60 years old, these organizations are the new kid on the block. It's still a new geography, and people keep redrawing the maps and make it very hard for the localities. Okay, so again, the regional hat is a loss of identity, but there's long been a need to become a regional, or what I call now a greater community. And so that greater community to respond to the challenges of the world. And again, it's a community motive. Now, the greater community may be based on some major city. Austin, a gentleman told me yesterday, well, the people in the suburbs, they don't consider Austin important, but Greater Austin is an umbrella like this. Or the Shenandoah Valley, where I live, or the Barents Sea is an umbrella. And this relationship, whether it is the EU, and this is a nation hat, or it's ASEAN, and this is a nation hat, or it's any of the multinational global organizations, we create the umbrella organization, we get this regional identity, we coordinate and cooperate, and things get better. Okay, so one of the things that I've come to explain over time is, again, this nature of scale and locality. So you might all be familiar with this. This is the bar scene in Star Wars, right? Okay, so we just happen to be there. Our conference is on that planet, Toomey or whatever it's called. Okay, so we've got our table over there, and one of these folks telepaths us and say, where are we from? Well, we might haul out our local planet cap, our humanity hat. Well, we're humans from Earth. Okay, so at that scale, Earth is our local planet. Or we might even add, we might have to give the solar system, say, well, we're in this solar system, or wherever. So, what we need to do then, okay, considering this our local planet, again, all these are our voting hats, but our people hat, our human hat, we need, in my terms, is we need to think of the whole planet, but we're constantly being called on to act regionally, to work across boundaries, whether they're in institutions, whether they're political boundaries, or whatever. So, that is my presentation, and I thank you for listening to me. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions. Thank you.
questions, comments?
Okay. Thank you very much for the spectacular presentation. I love the hats and Star Wars and so on. Regarding what you first said, that people ask what can save us in the future, and you said community, which is connected to your identity. And what do you think, just intuition as what is the scale of the community which people are going to shelter in the times of this turbulence and so on? Is it a very small scale, like a village? Is it a neighborhood? Does the nation come back in somehow? Because it's, of course, it would be nice if people would have the global identity, but it's very far. There are times are tough. People seem to be in smaller communities. So, what do you think about this?
Well, I think the community will have to operate at all levels. I mean, really, we're told that the world is all competition. But everything we see and we do, 90% of life is probably cooperative. And in community, we maintain community by obeying the laws. There aren't enough, local government is actually quite efficient. It gets its leadership for basically free. People run, and the citizens pick up stuff. We're constantly doing things for free, but it's because of our identity. We'll pick up something or help somebody. So it's really community. This is why I'm saying community. Profit motive is just a tiny little thing that emerged after thousands of years of evolution. And it's community, whether we were on the plains of Africa or in Northern Europe or wherever, we survive as tribes. We cooperate, we establish boundaries, we establish security, then we can build a civilization. And that's built into community. That's why I'm saying there's this deeper motive. I mean, we've heard about community and all, but I'm saying it's a motive. It keeps us alive. It causes us to take action, to see a tragedy in the commons and take action and stop it. The microbes or whatever in the petri dish, they can't control their population. They eat all the food and they die. The deer on an island eat all the food and the herd thins out. Humans, we're not limited by that. We can see something in progress. We can take action. Y2K was a problem that a lot of people in the computer field knew in the 60s was a problem, and they assumed it would get fixed. Well, 1995 or whenever, hey, it's not been taken care of. There are a lot of things at risk. We need to repair this. So, and that's a lot of what regional studies is about, regional analysis. Hey, look, folks, here's a problem. If we take action now, we can prevent the tragedy. And again, natural features like the Mediterranean, the Barents, Shenandoah Valley, Chesapeake Bay, many of these things exceed political boundaries. So it takes a collective action. Okay, where rivers were once used to divide as political boundaries because they were pretty clear, everybody on both sides of the river and the whole watershed has to cooperate to take care of the river. Now, everybody doesn't see that problem. Everybody doesn't have to see it. But the people that see it take action and things get better. So as we face these difficult times, and many of these were created by this wonderful profit motive that meant I can lie to you. It's asymmetric information. I'm committing fraud. I'm selling you a house that's not going to be worth anything and you can't afford to pay for it. So profit motive has put us into a difficult place, and community motive is what's going to get us out. And it'll have, again, it's going to have to work at every level. The people in the neighborhood are going to have to take care, people are going to have to keep the communications going, that it's going to be community at all these levels. Okay, and the thing is, you know, we can wear all these hats. I didn't know how much time I had, so I have one slide in there of a hat rack with, you know, 25 different kinds of hats. And so the reality is we can actually have multiple identities. You know, it's not that we can only be one thing. You can be a soccer, football fan, American or rest of the world football, you know. And so we can turn on the identities as the situation requires. Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Short answer.
Yeah, I agree, of course, everything which you are saying, but you are now talking about identities which completely, they have a regional scale, they are attached to certain location. Do you have any comment on the new, like, identities and communities which are being born, for example, Facebook or Internet, which are clearly, they are not attached to a location? And would you comment on this progress?
You say Facebook? Or
yeah.
Virtual communities. Virtual communities.
Yeah,
well,
which are not regional, but they are, of course, part of identity and community.
Yeah, I love the internet. I don't use Facebook much, but the thing that is most important, and you know, assume that we're all strange people. So when you're a young person and you're interested in geography and nobody else is, or whatever it is, you were isolated. And so today with the internet, we can find people with like interests. So communities, virtual communities can lead to coordinated action. You know, if you want to call a flash mob an action. You know, you know, again, all of these, the technology is simply a tool. It's with what intent it's used. And, you know, the political people are concerned about action that's kind of not in what they consider their boundaries. So it really tends to be all about communication. And the more we can communicate across borders, you know, whether it's a music or whatever. So all of that is leading to this convergence under what, you know, ideally would be the humanity hat. So if we're all in this together, there's no place on the planet where you can do damage and not hurt anybody, or not ultimately hurt the world. And so we're going to have to, there's a lot of that damage been done. It's going to have to be corrected somehow, or it may threaten us. So another short answer. So.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Yeah, well, Tom, we talked about this last night a lot, and it's a little bit clearer now. With
okay, good.
With a proper presentation, of course, pictures help. I think that there's a bit of a problem with the word community, and not only in English language, but I suppose in other languages as well. Because these days it has become kind of really elusive. And if you look up the dictionary, you will probably find 6, 7, 8, 9 meanings, right? I mean, ecologists use it to describe plant communities and so on. So the word is used in various contexts. And then when it's used in the context of human community, a community of people, of course these days it can mean a community of interest or Facebook group or whatever. So that further complicates things.
Well, it's just a very versatile word, like regional. I mean, you know, there's a million regions.
So
define regional.
Yeah. You know, leaving philosophical things aside, I certainly, I see a very warm and human message in your talk, and you could find way more support than just Aldo Leopold, right, from Peter Kropotkin to Martin Heidegger. You will find support for your basic thesis, but the practicality really is like we need a stronger definition of the word community in this context.
Well, but again, okay, the point, you know, a lot of people in this world act like government can't do anything. And so I happen to believe that government can do something. And so there's a very important paper I read around 2000 by a gentleman named Jeremy Rifkin. And he said, all institutions are derivative. And that is, as humanity evolved, it needed governance, so government evolved to serve the needs of the people. Religion was needed. Religion evolved to serve the people. Commerce was needed. Commerce evolved to serve the people. If at any time the institutions that we create are not saving us, the people can change them. Okay? So there's nothing that's cast in stone. And my question about evolutionary, in 300 years, how many of the nations will be here? How many will be able to perpetuate themselves? And you're not going to be able to perpetuate yourself alone. It's going to have to be globally. So, again, there's all kinds of community, but if you're paying a tax bill and you're elected an official, that's pretty serious community. So either you get your money's worth out of your vote and your taxes, or you don't. So, are you going to act? So people will act. They will act within the frame of government. They might act outside the frame of government. It depends what is required. So, you can check your Facebook page every day and all that other stuff and have 15,000 friends, but are you taking any action? So I think action, and again, as humans, we have brains and we can see problems and respond to them. We can act. We can take action. We can avoid a tragedy because we have brains and we can project ahead. So we are able to take action. And very often we take action not to protect ourselves, but to help somebody else out. Because we only survive as community. So, and I would say that community motive exists throughout all of the species which are evolving, and they only survive as long as they can breed. So if the environment changes, they have to change the environment or they're gone. Or their environment can change so rapidly that there's no time to adapt. A meteor hit or something like that. So being alive and embodied is risky, but humans have figured out how to manage those risks so that we have a much longer lifespan. And again, this is all, we can operate at many scales. And we're not helpless, but I think many of the ideas that we're operating on, like the profit motive is the primary thing, are not delivering the results that they promised. So we need to go back to our thinking and find out, what's wrong here. Okay?
Thank you.
I'm ready to stop if you're ready to stop listening.
Thank you. Thank all of our speakers. Thank you for the discussion. And I have a very important announcement about our